Hey everyone, hope you're having a great day. I'm here to talk about The Bad Guys, the brand new DreamWorks animated film that is simply fantastic. Is it DreamWorks' best film? No. Is it their worst? Very far from it. This movie is just a trip, and I would like to share with you why I think it's so good over the course of this video. So sit down, grab some popcorn, and let's get into it. So for those who don't know, The Bad Guys is a movie about 5 characters focusing mainly on the big bad wolf. This movie tells the story of the wolf, snake, shark, tarantula, and piranha. They are typically menacing and threatening predator animals that we see in stories and in science and so forth that are typically evil or at least very scary and life-threatening to you. So the core of this movie is the fact that the world views them as, well, the bad guys. And because of that, they've decided to take on the lives of criminals and they become master thieves. They typically rob banks, but in this movie, they decide to go for something bigger that puts them in the crosshairs of the chief of police, who ends up catching them, and now they start this ploy to pretend to be good guys in order to get out of being locked away in prison. There's a little bit more that goes along with the movie, but I don't want to spoil, the entire plot for you here. Speaking on the positives of this movie, The Bad Guys is awesome in terms of soundtrack and animation. Just looking at this movie is a visual delight. It has this 3D, 2D animation style that looks like a painting, and I loved every second that it was on screen. I just could not take my eyes off it. I had this childish grin on my face for the entire movie. It's just fantastic. Every single character has a very unique design and a unique personality, and it makes it very interesting to watch on screen and interact with each other. The voice cast does an immaculate job portraying everyone in it. I especially love the interactions between the wolf and the snake, who are best friends in the movie. It felt like I was watching an episode of Seinfeld. The two of them just get along and have this rapport, like I was watching George and Jerry have a conversation in any given episode of the show Seinfeld. So I truly did love that, and the movie has way more to it than just that. The action set pieces, the direction, everything in this movie is awesome. The worst part of this movie is most likely the writing. The writing, don't get me wrong, it's really good and entertaining, but in comparison to other DreamWorks films like Shrek or How to Train Your Dragon, it doesn't have the same level of emotional impact that those movies have. Those movies are regarded so highly because on top of being just a fun movie to watch, they had an emotional grip that has carried on for the many years since the film has come out. Bad Guys doesn't really have that emotional hook in that level of depth. This movie has a very simple premise and theme. It's don't judge a book by its cover, which is perfectly fine. I don't have an issue with that. I think the movie executes that theme very well, but at the end of the day, it's very simple ideology to get behind and accept. You don't want to judge somebody that you haven't gotten the chance to know or demonize them without learning anything about them. I get that. That's perfectly understandable. It's a good lesson to teach to kids. So this movie takes that very simple premise and it turns it into a really fun, fantastic movie. Now, sure, there will be people that will nitpick this movie for ridiculous things, saying, hey, they don't explain why there are anthropomorphic animals living alongside humans in this movie. Or, hey, why are there still stories about wolves and other animals being predators and evil if this takes place in a world where they would have lived side by side with each other? That seems like a stereotype that we, the audience, have developed outside of this universe that is now a stigma in the universe of the bad guys. Which, if I'm being honest, and you're one of those people, get over it. I get it. I nitpick movies all the time. That's kind of why I decided to make this channel. However, it's not something that's really that big of a deal. It's something that is just accept it and move on, because this movie is just trying to be super fun and entertaining, and it succeeds at that flawlessly. I truly did love every moment of this movie. The comedy in this movie is actually pretty funny. Granted, I understand the comedy is subjective. I think this movie is actually pretty funny. One of the funniest jokes that I saw in the movie is probably a play on a stigma of the big bad wolf. and the story of Red Riding Hood. You'll see it when you get into the movie. I don't want to spoil what happens to it there, but I really did love that sequence and that joke. It's maybe about like a minute long scene, and it was really funny in my opinion. Now, before I close out on this video, because I honestly don't really have that much else to say. Like I said, this movie is just pretty great. I would definitely love rewatching it again. The animation is fantastic. That is truly the best part of this movie. Watching this movie is a visual delight. Every action set piece, every movement of the characters, they all have so much style and vigor that I just can't fathom how people are able to do such fantastic things with a pen and paper. It's just immaculate. But anyway, the last thing I did want to get to before I closed out this video is I wanted to talk about the fact that I hope that this team gets to make a Sly Cooper movie in the future, because oh my god, this movie oozes Sly Cooper energy. And if you happen to be a younger person seeing this video, Sly Cooper is an old PlayStation 2 video game where you played as a thief raccoon, and this movie oozes that energy. I do know that there was a Sly Cooper movie that was in the works at one point. I don't even know if it still is in the works. I remember seeing a trailer for it that came out a while ago that was pretty cool, but like this team, this movie that they made oozes Sly Cooper energy. From the soundtrack to the animation style, to just the way the characters are written, everything about this movie oozes Sly Cooper, and I would love to see this team make a Sly Cooper movie. Will that happen? Definitely not. But hey, a boy can dream. So Sony, if you're listening, definitely give the rights to the Sly Cooper movie in the hands of these people if you've stopped working on it or whatever, because these guys would definitely do a fantastic job making a Sly Cooper film. And also, I honestly think that's about the end of this review. I don't really have much else to say about this movie except go see it. And I mentioned this in my last review about Everything Everywhere All at Once, that I was thinking about using this as my point system, I guess you could say, about how I was going to rank movies in the future. So with that, this is going to be possibly a permanent thing. We'll see. But The Bad Guys is definitely a movie I would see again in theaters. I recommend you checking it out. So with that, this is the end of this video. I am the Innocent Villain, and remember folks, you're innocent until proven villainous, and I'll catch you in the next one.